What's up, guys? My name is Rengawr, and this week the Cycle Frontier had some huge news. Now, if you don't know, the Cycle Frontier is a PvPvE looter shooter with high stakes aspects, similar to a game like Escape from Tarkov, and maybe even a little bit of DayZ as well. There are a lot of aspects from other games in here. It's a lot of fun. There was a closed beta on October. The game kind of blew up. It went away for us under development, and yesterday the team announced that it's coming back for a closed beta test number 2, which will be available on March 10th. If you were in that first beta, you'll be in the second beta, as well as you can sign up through their website. The cycle.game link will be in the description. I interviewed the team today, and we found out a lot of new things about the Cycle Frontier that's coming for the next beta, and I also got access to play the game on stream for this weekend only, so if you want to pop by the stream, we'll be playing it on stream, showing you some of the new things. Some things are under NDA, but if you want to find out all the new stuff from the beta, check out the interview right now.
So, hello everyone again. I'm Dan, otherwise known as Daze, and I am the creative director on the Cycle Frontier.
Hey, and I'm Nathan, or aka Tesuji, and I'm a senior level designer on the Cycle Frontier.
And for those who don't know, what is the Cycle Frontier?
The Cycle Frontier is a high-stakes PvPvE sci-fi shooter where players take on the roles of prospectors that go down to a planet called Fortuna 3, which is a beautiful but also extremely dangerous place where you do contracts for factions, you fight monsters, you fight players. You got to make it out alive with any loot or materials you found, because if you don't, and if you die, you lose any gear that you're carrying. So it's a lot about tension, high stakes, and the kind of drama that emerges from mixing all these elements.
With the big focus on survival, because anything you do lose, obviously, you want to earn back at some point. The loss does kind of hit you hard in a game like this.
Yeah.
You guys recently announced that there's going to be another beta test coming up in March 10th to the 18th, I believe. A question I was getting a lot is, for anyone in the previous beta, will be invited back to the next closed beta?
Yes. Anyone who had access to the previous beta are automatically they're automatically granted access to closed beta 2.
Understood. And for those that want to get invited to the next one that weren't in the first one, how do they go about that?
You just go on our webpage and sign up.
It's just that simple?
I'm sure someone can paste a link in chat as well.
Perfect. Okay.
It's easy peasy.
All right. And something I wanted to ask is, last time we talked about when the game eventually does come out, you guys want to do these seasons with scheduled wipes. Is that still something that we have planned for the future?
Yes, that is still very much the plan. So that's a lot of the stuff that we're working hard on right now, actually, is the setting up the kind of season infrastructure. So that's still very much the plan. 3-month seasons. And I think season 1 might start sooner rather than later.
Okay, understood. And something that I wanted to know about is, for this next beta test, are we going to be seeing new weapons in the game?
I think we've only added one gun, and it's the Comrade. So it's it's kind of, I guess it's a rocket launcher, quite frankly.
A rocket launcher?
If you're a fan of the old Cycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is a legendary gun, so it's, you got to work hard for that one.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that going to be craftable, or is it going to be attained a different way?
It's crafted.
Crafted. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And the materials for it, you got to do. Basically, we've introduced lots of new materials and some new activities and some new challenges, and specifically those you got to overcome in order to craft the Comrade.
Understood. Now, something that I wanted to know is, was there any weapon balance since the last beta? Because I know things like the Bolt and the Flechette and the Volt really, the Bolt action and the Volt both went really crazy last beta. So,
yeah, I mean, I think basically our weapons team, they kind of redid everything in terms of weapon balancing. I think they really were like they felt the need to kind of go back to the basics, and so it's very. I think a lot more solid. That's the hope.
It is kind of sort of forget what you knew from CB1. It's going to be familiar, but it's going to be different enough where you're going to have to relearn everything.
Okay, that all makes sense.
What's also, I think, you'll notice is that also just gun feel is a bit more more physical and weighty.
Yeah.
So we've added stuff like
sway,
which is huge.
Yeah.
ADS penalty when jumping and all of these things.
Yeah.
That I think just makes the whole combat feel much more punchy and weighty and impactful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And I was curious too, are there maybe new modding systems in the game? I wasn't sure if that might get changed at all, and maybe new reticles as well. for weapons?
Not new modding systems per
Well,
se.
we have new stuff that gives you different abilities, like new armors with different mods and stuff like that, because people were
Yeah,
a fan of that, but
we have more of
not a
that.
whole lot of it, like a very small amount.
But in terms of the weapon mods, I think what has changed since the last beta is I think they're pretty much all visualized now, so you'll see them on the guns. That's new. And we have, yeah, the scopes are new.
Yeah.
So we have
But
new
big scope pass.
yeah, scopes and sights.
Compliments of Danny.
Yes.
And
Skanky.
uh, with those new sights, is there an easier way to like tune down your sensitivity for the different sights? I know like that was a thing or in the last beta, people would like go into the files to change the sense for each individual scope. Is that going to be in the game settings for this next beta?
Don't look at me.
I I'm not sure. Maybe if Skanky is in chat, he can answer that. But I know we did something on this topic, but I'm quite honestly not sure what.
Fair
It's
enough.
better.
Hopefully it's there. Okay, we'll go with it. Might be there. So I had a couple questions when you talk about the new modding on the weapons, how you can visualize it now. When you killed the player in the first beta, right? They'd foam up, all the gear would hit the ground, and there was kind of a hard time like picking up someone's gun, taking the mods off, like actually looting them. And you said that you wanted to implement two things: one being the player's name when you kill them, and two being a death box similar to like Apex. Are those going to be in this version of the game?
No, but what we have added is at least there's a battle log at end of match, so you will know at the end of your session who you fought and how much damage you dealt each other.
Really? Okay, so there's a whole like overall screen at the end that gives you all that info.
Yes.
Okay, that's really
This
cool.
basically like a recap of all your encounters. So you'll see if you chatted to someone on proximity voice, you see if you just like hung out with someone in proximity, you'll see if you fought, and you can add friends and stuff like that.
Understood. That's really cool. So I wanted to ask about the map redesigns because we got a lot of those being leaked through Twitter as new screenshots. So I was curious, what are like the biggest changes we'll see coming forth, and then why were they actually changed? Like, what made the reasoning happen?
So I guess the absolute biggest change is the desert lowering. Like the whole region around the skeleton region in map 2, Crescent Falls, has been lowered to the same level as the Osiris Wildlife Preserve, the water treatment facility, and all that. So what you'll have is a much easier time of accessing that whole area from the various points of the level. So in fact, you can even access the whole skeleton observation region from the tunnel entrance or exit point down there. So it's much simpler to get to that area. And also you can cross over from the water treatment facility into the skeleton region. I think I sent you some images. If we have the ability to throw those up at some point, that'd be awesome. While you're looking at that, I can talk about the big reason why we decided to do those changes was I saw a lot of frustration over people wanting to say, okay, I want to go to the skeleton observation, but I don't know how to get there. They'll be looking at their map and they'll like hit what I called the churn wall, and they'll run along it for the entire time trying to figure out how the hell to get up there. So I said, F it, right? Let's keep it simple and leave the hard region for the desert area, like the true desert, the Pinnacle Labs and beyond Starport Warehouse.
Yeah.
So when people are much more familiar with the game, they've spent quite a bit more hours into the level, they'll be familiar with the map. And plus progression into that region, the northeast region of the map is going to be a lot more straightforward, and it's going to feel more natural.
Yeah, that looks really, really cool, actually. I didn't realize that when you sent these photos. That part of the map was definitely really hard to be around, honestly. It it felt like the map like kind of made you progress clockwise and you couldn't ever get down. I remember getting stuck on the waterfall a few times trying to actually like scale it down, trying to get to water treatment. So it's a lot cooler that it's like more well-rounded.
Yeah. So that's like probably the biggest and most obvious like big change to the level.
It's huge.
The other changes that we've made to the level are I guess more access points from upper to lower region at a few key locations where flow is a bit hard. When we set up, because we had these maps from the old cycle, right?
Mhm.
And we had to rework them for the new cycle, Cycle Frontier, right? Um, when we started out with map 2, Crescent Falls, I set out with this goal of like, okay, I want to challenge players and I want them to have this long-term plan and vision going on. It's like, okay, I want to go from point A to point B, but I can't just run straight there. I have to go from here to here to here to here to get there. And we did a first pass of it. We sent it out with CB1. We collected the feedback, and the skeleton lowering, that was one thing. That was a big feedback point that was relatively obvious to make. But what wasn't so obvious was, okay, I really should add a giant spiral staircase just north of Green's Prospect so people can get up the ramp and go into the Starport region a little bit easier. Or on the other side of the Starport warehouse near the skeleton region, again, adding another staircase so that the people who are holding down the Starport warehouse choke, they have to worry about their backs. So now they can't just look like completely in one direction and try to stop people from crossing the bridge. They now have to like almost look 180 degrees behind them in order to see people possibly flanking them.
That's really cool, actually, because that choke point was kind of hard to get through, and now it makes people to actually like think a little bit.
Yeah.
I like things like that. I think the maps were cool in concept when I was first playing them, but I think the biggest complaint definitely like when I was playing was like you said that Starport Warehouse choke point, and then also the whole if you got the tunnel spawn and Crescent Falls the first time, it felt like I was trapped, and a lot of times I actually just died from a 3-man camping that waiting for me to come across, and it didn't feel too good. But now having the option to go one way or the other.
The tunnel spawn is going to feel a hell of a lot better now because now of course you have the option of going straight forward and down to the Green's Prospect and a little bit, but now you have the option to go directly to the right and go into the desert region that's now been lowered.
That's a lot cooler. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask too, with that desert being lower, are there still gonna be crushers over there? I know there's like the big crusher hotspot beforehand.
No, the crushers have been removed from that region.
Okay.
But we haven't removed the total. In fact, we've increased the total number of crushers on the level.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. That's cool.
You might even find one inside the warehouse.
Ooh, okay. We'll have to see then.
I think the maps flow better, but you guys also did a really excellent beautification pass.
Yes.
Like both maps are quite a lot more pretty.
So the art team, the environment art team on the maps team is also totally crushing it.
Yeah. Speaking of crushing.
They did an absolutely bang up job of doing a lot of deco work in all of our areas, touching up everything. We've done an entire rock replacement pass, by the way. So all of our old rocks are gone. They're much easier to read.
Yeah, ledge climbing is a lot more understandable.
Ledge climbing is a lot more understandable. There's none of this like you're going to look down from the top of a cliff and you're like, oh, I can jump down on top of that rock, and you just slide right off and you die. That's gone. So, but yeah, it's just going to look so much more beautiful. Think the Eastern Caverns, but on steroids.
Okay, that sounds good. I wanted to ask about that with the whole descending cliff thing, because fall damage is a big thing in the first beta. Has that been tuned at all?
Yes. There's been a tuning pass. I defer to Skanky on this again.
Yeah.
Okay, so we won't die as much fall damage at least, or hopefully not.
Well, I don't know about that.
That's up to you.
Because listen, there's a couple times where I fell like 5 feet and I was fine, and then 6 feet I wasn't fine. So it happens. I wanted to ask too, with the first beta, there was the scaling of like rocks when they're trying to climb up them and stuff. Sometimes like you wouldn't grapple a ledge, and it felt like it was a little buggy sometimes. Is that been cleaned up a little bit, you think, for the next one?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We've not only have we cleaned up the geometry, the rocks themselves, and replaced everything, but we've also looked at the ledge climbing system itself.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, things are going to be a lot more smoother.
Cool. That is really good to hear, actually, because that was one of the that was like one of the things that was like kind of annoying, but like it wasn't a big deal. It's just like obviously when this gets polished, it'll feel really nice to play. Because the whole being able to scale everything felt really good in the game, honestly.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, when it comes to you as someone who designs maps, or I guess you work on the whole like layout of them, what makes a map like Bright Sands easier than a map like Crescent Falls, like in the design process?
I guess I alluded a little bit to it earlier. So Bright Sands is a lot more forgivable with its navigation. You want to go from point A to point B, you can generally head in a straight line. There's no real long-term planning going into effect here. But with Crescent Falls, it really relies quite heavily on map knowledge. And so people who have the higher map knowledge are going to perform better. And they're going to get the kills easier because they've studied the map, right? So if you're new in Crescent Falls, you're practically like a fish out of water. And of course, also there's a higher monsters.
Yeah.
The higher tiers of monsters spawn in the level much more frequently, a little bit denser.
A little bit denser in player threat as well.
Player threat as well. And the chokes, and obviously Starport Warehouse, for example, are a bit more cruel.
Understood. So. Yeah. So just more like more tight-knit areas, I guess, on a map like Crescent Falls, which we definitely felt last time when we were trying to navigate through the map. So I had a question about the number of maps in the game. This is like a way future going on, but I know last time we talked, Daze alluded to a third map being in the works that was similar to Factory from Tarkov. I was curious, is that in the works?
Labs. Yeah.
Similar to labs, really? Really? Okay.
It's like labs in terms of like you should bring your best gear, but it's not like labs in terms of layout.
The rest,
I'm not going to spill the beans just yet.
Not going to spill the beans. All right.
How about a penitent man shall pass?
I mean, we can tease a little bit. Like, speaking of, challenge, it's definitely going to be the most challenging map of the bunch when it ships.
Yeah.
That's one thing we can say.
It's going to test all your skills.
It's going to test your skills. And I think it's just going to be the tensest and scariest map.
Yeah, the gameplay goals are tensest map yet.
Yep.
An alien world.
Yeah.
And end-game challenge.
Will there be new AI? Like different monsters?
I don't think so. It's not currently planned for release of Map 3, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean we do have we have new variations of all the old monsters coming already now in closed beta 2.
Okay.
And I mean we're kind of fleshing out how to best support this map with supporting features right now. So I think it's a bit too early to say.
It's a bit too early. It is a bit too early to say. I don't think we don't currently have anything like. We definitely want a new creature for the new map just yet, but we do want to do new creatures. We've talked about bringing back the cobots, for example.
Yeah, the droids we want to do, the howler we want to do.
And then who knows what else from there.
Understood. That all makes sense to me. With the talk of the new AI, I guess the new monsters that you want to bring back as well, has the AI in the game been tuned? Because the Crushers and the Jeffs from the first beta were kind of a little dopey, and I'm curious, are they a lot more challenging now?
Yeah, play in the CB2 and tell us they're dopey afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a lot scarier. Like they have scarier audio. The animation team has done a kick-ass job, so they just look a lot more believable and threatening. The behaviors are very much updated.
The behaviors are definitely updated. Like for example, like something simple like the Crusher, for example, now does a check to the player when he's hurling his boulders. So he's not going to do goofy things like try to chuck boulders at a tree when he doesn't clearly have line of sight to the players. It's just like even little things like that's going to make a big difference. Yeah. Not to mention the whole pathing updates that we've done all to the creatures. Goodness. I'll tell you something else that's actually that makes them surprisingly difficult is the sound occlusion that we've done. Like before, you would hear the monsters way off in the distance, but now it's like you can round a corner and you wouldn't have realized that there was a monster just sitting there the entire time.
They'll just catch you off guard. Okay, that sounds actually pretty frightening.
Yeah, great.
And
but we've done other things also that's really cool. Like the foliage, the bushes and everything will actually block line of sight from the creatures to the player. So you'll have those instances where you can even sneak around a creature like by using all the bushes and everything, and they won't see that you're there. So you can be clever if you want to now.
Really?
We also updated both attacks and behaviors to basically across the board make chasing a lot more difficult.
Yeah, the Striders will now jump at you and hit you if you're standing on top of a crate.
And if they can't reach you, they will run around frantically.
Yeah.
Kind of like a rabid dog.
Yeah. So, have fun with that.
Okay. That makes it a lot more interesting. I remember I've definitely cheesed a few Striders in the first beta. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Sounds really fun, actually. And it's cool that the bushes you can use to actually get around the AI. Because I know earlier on, when you start off and you like don't have the best weapons, fighting the Jeffs like wasn't scary because they were kind of dopey. But at least now I can at least avoid them now.
Well, Jeff has a new trick up his sleeve.
Really? Can we get a tease on that?
Yeah. Have fun with Jeff.
Have fun with Jeff. Is that all we're getting?
Yeah.
And then there's even the Jeff variation, which is
Jeff
terrifying.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
These variations. So we have like when do they vary in like difficulty? So we have like easier like striders and then like harder striders, and same thing with Jeffs as well.
Yes.
And
they're primarily a stat difference at the
Okay.
moment. We don't have behavior differences between them. We have talked about behavior differences, but for the time being, they're primarily served as a way of saying smoothing out your progression through the game.
Okay.
So you don't hit like weird brick walls of difficulty to relate relative to your gear.
Okay, and with that being said, how is that variation like spread out? Is it random on the map? Is it like they have the same spawns every time, or?
No, it's actually rather predetermined. Like for example, the beaches in Crescent Falls are going to be like the easiest parts in the game. So they have all the easiest spawns in those areas. But if you go into the jungle, they're always going to be like the higher tier versions of the creatures.
Okay, so there's like literally a power creep based on like zone difficulty, pretty much.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so jungle will feel a lot harder now with all the Jeffs being harder AI and even the Striders and Marauders as well, right? Or
That's the hope.
yeah, okay. Understood. Question with the Rattlers, we haven't mentioned those yet. Do those still are those gonna be beaming us now with the AI being tuned up a little bit, it sounds like? Okay.
Yeah. You'll come across like the harder Rattler packs. You can't just burn through them before they shoot at you.
Okay.
So you'll have to take a few shots from them.
Understood.
They also have updated behaviors
Yeah.
where they kind of try to reposition
Yeah.
in a much more, I guess, challenging way.
Yep. They're much better at checking line of sight and finding good angles to shoot at you from.
I can't just split through them anymore, so there's a lot more thought goes into fighting this AI, which is great.
Yep.
Something I wanted to ask you, one last question about maps is, in your ideal version of like the game, I guess, fully released or even like a year or two from now, how many maps do you guys like want to have?
I don't think we want to have all the maps in the world. I think we do want to have a good pool where you're coming back and you're doing something new each time, but I don't think we want to spread, to quote Bilbo, like too little butter over too much toast.
Yeah. That makes sense.
We've talked about like rather than building entire maps, adding new sections to old maps. Like you've discovered a new something to Crescent Falls, go and explore it, and it'll be like a new endgame region of the map or something like that. That's more in line, I think. With what
We want to do both.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's put it this way. I mean, with the two maps we have right now, there's definitely more opportunity to explore.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, and I think expansions for maps are really cool. So I like to see it in the future because like after you played a map for a long time, you get a little bored of it. It just happens to like with any game. It's like new things to maps to spice it up. Always change the flow, and it makes it really cool.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask. We talked about when we do the scheduled wipes. There's going to be like a seasonal type of deal where there's going to be like a new twist in the game. Do you think that we'd see something like that with expansions for the seasons? Like maybe Crescent Falls has slightly like new areas that are like way higher priority to go to?
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, there's one part in already in closed beta 2 that we kind of keep a little bit secret that may or may not go in that direction already.
Really? Okay. Any tease on that, or are we not gonna leak anything just yet?
What?
Understood. Okay.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. I wanted to ask a couple questions about things like the movement system. I know people. We talked about there's things overall that might have to get changed. Maybe it was the map layout. Maybe it was like the stamina regen and the movement speed. Have you changed anything? And if so, what was it?
I think we might have touched stamina, but it was a while ago.
We're doing some updates to stamina, so you'll kind of if you stand still, you regen a bit faster, so you have a tool to basically catch your breath a little bit. But actually, I think the really meaningful stuff has been the level changes. Like the kind of improved level design flow in the maps, which was quite interesting because we got a lot better. We're doing these focus like player council tests, just to make sure that we're on good track for close beta 2 and release and everything. And we actually got really positive feedback on movement in the last one, but really all that changed was the levels.
Yeah. Much easier to read climbing paths. So a lot less jump and retry climbing moments. So you're not jumping 2 or 3 times just to get up a rock. It's you're doing it right the first time.
Perfect. Okay.
That kind of stuff. And I guess better ways to get to certain locations, so you're not running around something that seems arbitrarily long just to fulfill.
I think that was the main one. I think at least for me, it just improved the sense of flow a lot.
Yeah, I remember mentioning that when we talked about movement last time with Daze, he was saying how the maps themselves, if they were made like more efficient, they flowed better. Like after that, you guys took some time off, like it'd probably feel a lot better overall. Maybe it's not the movement system itself. And looking forward to playing that myself, honestly, because I think some of the like I keep going back to Skeleton area, the observatory where the crushes used to be. When you like lower that desert now, and you combine that section of the map, it just flows. It doesn't have to deal with the whole arbitrary. I gotta walk like 20 minutes to get across that area, and then I gotta walk like 20 minutes back, which could be the worst sometimes.
Yeah. That whole skeleton region is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I might have gone a little bit crazy with the activities at Skeleton Observation. It now has. Okay, so it had the power up.
Yeah.
Now it has an uplink.
Okay.
And it also has the drill nearby. As a possible location.
Right.
And it has an evac.
What would the drill be?
Well, yeah, that's one of our. So we have close beta 2 is really jam packed with new stuff. It's actually insane what the teams have pulled off. But one of the major things is the 3 faction campaigns, and in the end of each campaign you unlock a new activity, and the core level one is the laser drill, which is a bit of a return from an old objective from the old cycle, and it's basically a player triggered dynamic event where players who have unlocked it can place a beacon. It calls down the laser drill, which is an enormous oil rig arena that comes down from the sky. Everyone sees it, of course. Everyone can challenge, try to steal the loot. I'm getting some crazy scenarios in my head when you say, all that in one area. It's going to overlap in.
And Meteor.
Meteor, yeah. So we're going to have these crazy stories where that time you call down the laser drill and Meteor happened and the squad came and just insanity.
Yeah,
it's going to be good.
That sounds really cool with the more events that we could see, because those are always really cool in games like that.
We got so much positive feedback on just that. The events we already had, but just the fact that we can do them with our our sci-fi setting is so open, we can do pretty much whatever we want, and we really leaned into that now with CB2.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that actually, because I really like the storms and I like the meteor showers in the first beta, because the meteors made people go there. It was something cool that you can get rewarded for, even if no one went to. Like, it was a win-win regardless. And then the storm was cool because it forced players either off the map or into shelter. So I was curious, besides the laser drill, are there more events we're going to be seeing for the next beta that are going to either make people have to, global, they can counter and stuff,
Yeah, so there's 3 of them. All of the 3 faction campaigns culminate in you unlocking one of these. So there's the laser drill, there is the oil pumps, which is...
I guess we really haven't talked about that all that much. But
we can. It's kind. I guess it's kind of like a mini version of laser drill almost, but with the fantasy of striking oil. But it's also like other players will see it.
It's a lot like the old lithium pump from the old cycle in a way.
And then the third one is the one that we're kind of keeping a little bit secret.
The what?
The one. But so more.
Yeah. That was the one that when I was looking at the brief, there was so many "do not show this" or "do not talk about this ever" written around it. So definitely gonna stay away from that. But it looks cool to have gonna be cool to have a lot of stuff going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With that being said, I was curious about solo versus team gameplay because you talked a lot about how your guys' goal is to balance it, and there's no team HUD because you want teams have to worry about is this you, is this not you? Is there more of that going on in this beta?
I don't really think we've changed much in terms of that yet.
Okay.
I haven't played in the squad in a long time.
Yeah.
This is all you.
I think we have a pretty good idea of what we'd like to do, but it might be a focus for a bit later, which is
Okay.
to really expand the roster of gear and gadgets for solo players who want to be sneaky and allow them to outsmart squads. So I think that's the direction we want to take it. We just haven't really gotten to it yet.
Understood. I was just curious. With that as well, and you said gadgets. We talked about how you might actually bring back old items or old mechanics from the other cycle that might fit this game really well. Are any of those older items or things in the game currently?
I mean, I guess the laser drill and the oil pumps are examples of that, actually.
Well, I mean, I guess he means like deployables or consumables.
Yeah,
you know, like
to more
the recall teleporter or the deployable force field or something.
none of that in CB2.
No.
But yeah, like I said, I think really the plan is to make a concerted effort a bit later down the line for gear and gadgets, and who knows, some of them might be repurposed stuff from the old game. But yeah, I think it's really going to be a concerted effort where we do what we think makes would give especially solo players the tools they could use to outsmart squads.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool, and I like the depth that's going to come later in the game. Last playtest, the goal was serviceability, and it kind of blew up, and it was a lot bigger than you guys thought it would be. And I never even heard of the game until I tried it, and I gave it a shot. And I was like, how have I never heard of this before? And it was really cool. What is the goal behind this playtest? What do you guys want to have the players experience, and what are you guys hoping to gain or learn from it?
From Close Beta 2?
From Close Beta 2, yep, this one.
Well, I mean, I guess it's a couple of things. We want so I mean, we identified a couple of things that we thought were missing in Close Beta 1 based on how we experienced the game, based on looking at data and player feedback. So really, it's about us, having now worked on these features, implemented them, making sure that they do what we hope they would do. Especially, I think the campaigns, are such a huge thing in terms of how players are guided through the game. So it's verifying that we're on the right track, but also, I mean, the service did blow up, and we've done a lot of work on the infrastructure side. So it's also about us verifying that it works.
Yeah. Very much a stress test as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about for a second, if anyone that hasn't played this game, and I've talked quite a bit with Straticus and some people that work on the cycle, a lot with Daze as well. And you guys care a lot about the player experience. It's really refreshing that like everything that you talk about, you're very passionate where you go, the players can experience this, or it feels this, or it's suspenseful, or it's exciting. Like, it's really cool how you guys have this really big focus on I want the player to like feel this way or enjoy this. Are there any things about the player experience that you're like looking forward to for the next test? Like, this should make players like have a great time, or maybe they're a little scared of this area. Like, any like new parts you could think of like that?
I mean, I would have to say it's the new activities, especially the laser drill and the secret one. I think just, I mean, that's why we built them, right? But we just think that they will result in, dramatic experiences that you might not really have in other games in that way.
From my end, it's where they're currently positioned and how they're going to relate to other things that are nearby.
And overlap.
Yeah. For example, skeleton observation. How's that gonna go? I've given you so many tools in that one spot. Who knows what the hell's gonna happen over there?
Yeah, no, and I really think players will be. I mean, I mean, we had Jonathan write on our internal chat, like the first time, like our executive producer, he saw a laser drill being called down by another player, and he wrote that he got goosebumps because it is just such a bombastic, cool thing to see in action. Yeah. And I think, it's going to be epic.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting. I know we can't talk about this hidden thing. You're going to keep it under wraps and not leak anything. And I'm not going to ask anything about that, but that will be fully available for the closed beta too?
Yes.
Well,
Why not?
well, we might even keep it a bit.
Oh, you think so? Up
Yeah.
until that's
yeah.
that's fair.
Well,
We'll have to see about that.
A point of
Because I
contention.
know where you're
Okay.
going.
stuff.
I know where you're going. I know where you're
Secret
going
stuff,
with
secret
that. So
stuff.
okay. We'll
While
see.
while we're talking about secret stuff, dungeons, map design. I'm just curious. Someone in this room or in this call might be making dungeons in the future. Will we maybe see a tease of that anytime in the next, couple months? Maybe just
Couple months?
maybe a couple months.
Secret stuff.
In a couple months, as in like sometime in April? Maybe.
Okay. Might get some information on that.
I can only
Okay.
say wink, wink.
Because it would be past release.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about a couple things. Starting off, there were the spawn issues in the closed beta 1 where people could like spawn on top of players. And I know
Yeah.
that wasn't supposed to happen. There's supposed to be like more spawns than there are players. Is that resolved for the next beta?
Yes, it's all resolved. I mean, who knows? Weird things always happen when we have real players, of course, but they're fixed.
Unless we introduce new ones. I haven't found
you
them
never
yet.
know. It was hilarious. I mean, there were several bugs that led to weird stuff, but there was especially one that was one of my favorites, where for a while all players dropped into the same server.
Oh gosh.
So I think we had like 100 players on one map at some point. For
Really?
a beautiful brief 5 minutes.
That is interesting, honestly. On the topic of bugs, the rubber banding that happened like throughout the whole closed beta 1, has that been kind of resolved?
Yes, I believe we fixed that issue, but again, we of course when we're going toward closed beta 2, who knows what blows up?
Yeah.
I mean, we fixed everything we know about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's why it is so important to test again with a large player count to see where we actually are.
Yeah.
And you said you fixed everything that you knew about, but I just want to ask anyway. The regen armor, it was kind of bugged out with like it wouldn't like show your healing right away, and it would just keep making your health bar flicker.
Yeah. It worked. It was just a display issue on the HUD, and that is also fixed.
Also fixed. Perfect. Okay. On the topic of armor, have you guys made it possible to see the armor that someone's wearing? 'Cause I know that was a topic of we're not sure how we want to do that, but we want to do that.
Yeah, Dan?
I mean, it's a topic that is, we've talked a lot about, and I don't think we've gotten it to where we'd like it, but we have improved on it. So you will get feedback when shooting someone.
Yeah.
Okay.
About what rarity of armor they have.
Yeah, the tricky
so we've
one
taken
is
one step in that direction.
the real tricky aspect of it is before you engage somebody.
Yeah.
Being able to read somebody, and I guess the tricky thing for us is very much it's related to like different cosmetics and skins, and how like if somebody's wearing a particular cosmetic, how does the cosmetic look when they're wearing different armors, right? So
understood.
Someone brought up the idea to maybe have a tool to allow you to scan other players, which I think could be quite cool.
That could be
it also goes in the direction of sci-fi gadgets, which is dear to my heart.
Yeah.
So that could be something.
Yeah.
So currently, there is no visual way to see before a fight, but then if I do shoot someone, I might get a feedback system like Apex where I can see like the armor they're wearing, something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, a little flash. I think we've mentioned it. I think Chris Cora mentioned it the other day on another stream. That it'll flash an icon on your reticule when you shoot somebody. What color armor they're wearing.
All right, at least there's something there, which is a good step in our direction. I like that. With that being said, I have questions about things like we talked about armor here. Are there going to be new armors? Are the purple armors going to be harder to get? I guess with the crushers being moved or they're not in the skeleton area anymore. So, is there more stuff, more armor and stuff?
There is. I think we have. I forgot what we had in CB1.
Well, you needed to go farm crushers in order to get the epic armor.
That is to get the best stuff. That's still very much the case.
Yeah.
But I think maybe in terms of new stuff, we have the night vision helmet, I believe.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yep.
And yeah, then we I forgot if it was the case in CB1 already that every armor and helmet had the stamina and health regen versions.
I think we have those. At least we had them at one point. I don't know if we took them out.
We do now, at least. That's what I'm saying. I forgot if we had them in CB1. So there might be a couple more.
We only had the chest piece.
Okay, yeah. Then there's new helmets. There's mostly new helmets then.
Yeah. Okay. With the night vision helmet that you just brought up, is there going to be an option to go to nighttime maps, or how's that going to work?
I mean, so I guess it would be useful both in darker areas and the storm, and yeah.
Shoutouts to the Starport admin rework.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
The Starport admin is now very dark.
Really?
In corners, yes. So that we a big part of what we did for CB2 is a big lighting push.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 buildings, both in Crescent Falls. So Starport admin and the building in the center of Green's Prospect they'll have some spaces that are like pitch black.
Okay.
So there'll be corners where players might be hiding and you won't realize it unless you shine a light.
So flashlights are going to have more use.
All prospectors also get like flashlight in your hand as well as a set of binoculars. Yep. So there's a couple of new gadgets coming in as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So you hold down Q like with your pickaxe, and you'll have a tool wheel come up. Yeah.
Understood. With the flashlights being more useful now, are those going to be blinding if like I'm in a dark area and someone shines it at me, or is it going to be still kind of easy to see them?
I think so.
I mean, I guess we haven't done it specifically.
I don't think we set out to blind other people's, but I don't think we made it unrealistic either. So maybe it is.
Okay, maybe a little bit of both. I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
With the armor, before we hop away from that subject as well, you said there might be some armor modding when I brought up modding earlier. Is there like new stuff besides the just classic increased stamina armor or the regen armor? Is there like ways I can put stuff on my armor as well, or?
Not for closed beta 2, other than the night vision helmet.
No, I guess the only thing we've done so far is expanded that regen stuff onto the helmet.
Exactly.
Piece,
yeah.
So.
Okay.
There will be more in the future, of course, but for CB2.
Out of scope for CB2.
Yeah.
Understood. Has the healing system changed at all with like the stims, or is that all still the same as last time?
What has changed, I guess, is a couple of things. So they all have updated meshes and animations, so they look a lot cooler as you use them. And I mean, one also big feedback point from the community was related to weights of stims, which we've tuned somewhat, but also changed the backpack capacity, so it should feel you're a bit less restricted in early game in terms of how much meds and ammo you can bring. Otherwise, same as before.
So we have, I'm assuming the default backpacks can hold more stuff now?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I thought that was it was a little bit too much, but I think like obviously you have to keep it somewhat like you want to bring in a bigger backpack and not stick with the smallest one.
Exactly. It's that sweet spot where you're not frustrated, but you still really want a better backpack.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. With that being said, all of the quarters area, there's a lot of upgrades that we had for both our stash space and our it was stash space and your safe pouch you'd upgrade through there, and then you had the generators as well. We talked about with future versions of the game there might be some upgrades for your Prospector. Are we going to be seeing some of those maybe at the full release of the game, or maybe in this beta at all?
I mean, I think what we were thinking now is rather more gear.
Okay.
Like when it was brought up, there was also I saw that it was a bit of a point of contention in the community. Like a lot of people weren't really on board with the idea of just a base character with different stats or in a game like this. So I think there's a lot we want to do in terms of tools and things to upgrade, but I think we're looking more into the direction of just sci-fi gear.
I think that's a cool way to do it. I think that tangible gear, like I can get someone else's perk if I kill them if they're more geared is sick.
Yeah. I mean, it also it's the game, right?
Yeah. You have something shiny, I want it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's more rewarding for sure. Quick question that I know everyone probably wants to know: with the hideout upgrades or the quarters for the safe pouch, you need a lot of smart mesh. Is smart mesh still as rare as it was? Because that stuff was impossible to find.
Yeah, I mean, loot
Yeah.
has got also, it's kind of like the weapon balancing. It's gotten
Yeah.
a complete
Yeah.
overhaul, so it's going to be basically a lot easier to understand in what areas you
Yes.
find what. It's a bit more
Yeah, I suppose.
learnable.
Yeah, I suppose that was another big thing that we've done in the maps that y'all haven't seen yet, but that was done relatively early on. In fact, those loot changes were done during CB1. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, so like all the loot, I guess when you played Crescent Falls in CB1, the language of loot in that map wasn't done on Bright Sands yet in CB1. And so Bright Sands has gotten the loot pass or the loot treatment that Crescent Falls had.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of loot will be in places that make a lot of sense. Like you'll find construction stuff in a construction area, for example. Or you'll find plant stuff in like the planty area. I don't know. I don't know. Or electronics in an area filled with computers, that kind of stuff. Osiris is full of scientific stuff or medical stuff, that kind of stuff.
It's a lot more intuitive than I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good word.
We called it a learnable loot pass.
Understood. That makes really a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And when Bright Sands, especially like kind of early on, the items for the contracts, they seem to be kind of tiered, like for each place's zone. So like ICA stuff about ICA structures and stuff like that. Is that still the case with that loot pass as well, or are they more so like?
So okay, so we have individual loot spawners, and they all have their individual loot tier that they can spawn. And the higher difficulty an area is, the higher tier will spawn at those points.
Okay.
And the higher tier I think it can mean increased quantity, but more importantly, the pools can expand at certain tiers. Like for example, I might set housewares in a tier 1 zone, and I set housewares in a tier 5 zone, but the housewares in a tier 5 zone might spawn alien fruit. I forget what it's called.
Yeah. Indigenous fruit.
Indigenous fruit, for example, but it won't spawn in a tier 1 area. So
Understood. Rumble is saying in the chat that it's not categorized by factions anymore. That's what I'm asking.
yes,
Which
yeah, that
perfect.
was the faction categorization was existent in Bright Sands for CB1.
Yeah,
and that's been ripped out and replaced with what was done in Crescent Falls.
I guess it's in a way it's still there in the sense that Osiris often has more researchy stuff. So but it's more like through the lens of science than like, oh, here's an Osiris area.
Yeah, that's actually a lot cooler because it wasn't like it was annoying, but it was weird to have to like look at a map and be like, wait, is this an Osiris or a Corla? Like, what structure is this? But now like it's a research place, so I can get my vials and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot cooler. I like that because it's more intuitive for people that are just learning. With all of that being said, I'm curious about the station at all for the future because I know you said in the interview that we did that you do want to change the station, and the one that we've seen in CB1 was kind of like a placeholder. So is there anything new that we'll see in that next beta?
I wouldn't call it a placeholder, but but there's a lot we'd like to do to it to just make it a much more, like I think, a little bit more fitting to the tone of the game, a lot more detail, a lot more lively, so more NPCs and stuff like that. But for CB2, not much has changed. The faction leaders have
they have voice lines.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's not decided whether or not we'll update the station for CB2 or not.
Okay.
I mean, for CB2.
Oh, for CB2, I guess
it'll be the same.
It'll be the same.
I mean, it's a bit more cool.
I mean, it was built for the old cycle. That tone, that style of game. So.
Yeah. But I wouldn't call it a placeholder. It's just that it's in need of a little bit of the same treatment we've given Bright Sands and Crescent Falls.
It wasn't placeholder a year ago.
So there's just a lot we'd like to add to it and improve on it.
Fair enough. With all of that, I also want to talk about where was it? The skins in the game. I know, obviously, free-to-play game, microtransactions. I don't know if you have any skins like you're ready to maybe throw in the game for like later on that you're working on, but what kind of skins do you want? Like for what different parts of the characters, or what can I buy for my own Prospector?
Do you mean like
Like,
what?
like what categories? Like a weapon, maybe like the drop pod has something cool in it. Like, what can I do?
Yeah, there's a bit of everything. I mean, so there's of course I mean, you'll be able to customize your character. That's one thing, and you will be once we, in the future get to season 1 and everything, you'll be unlocking new archetypes in the season pass. But then we also have a ton of stuff. We have weapon skins, which should already be working in CB2. We have weapon charms, sprays, emotes.
Yeah. Do we have duck pods?
I forget.
Did we keep those?
I don't remember.
Apparently, there's banners. What Rumble was saying in chat as well.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
The banners.
Right, the banners.
Completely forgot about those.
Yeah.
Oh my god. No, we worked on it.
And I think the one that I'm excited about is especially the weapon skins, actually.
Yes.
And just the fact that if I kill Tesuji, which I of course,
Which will never happen.
Which I of course would if we were to be, and he had a cool weapon skin on his gun, I get to keep that skin, but I can't apply it to other guns. It's just I have that one-time copy of his gun, and the way he customized it, which I think is pretty badass.
So if I do kill someone, and I have their weapon, even if I bring it out of the raid and I go back to another drop onto Fortuna, I will still have their weapon skin? Your mic cut out.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Just heard nothingness.
Yeah.
Something I was curious about as well is PvP incentives, I guess. I was curious. We talked about maybe in the future there'd be more reasons to fight players, and I know there wasn't like a ton of end game content in the last one. There was a lot of PvP near the end, so that's why I'm just asking. Are we gonna see like a higher progression of content with these new campaigns, and then are there PvP incentives like even later on past that?
I don't know if super much has changed. I mean, there are definitely PvP contracts as part of the campaigns, which I think will be, I guess in that way, that is a pretty meaningful incentive to PvP, because with the looping, contracts or jobs as they're called now, since you don't have to do them, like you're free to just pick another one.
Right.
Yeah.
With the campaigns, you actually have to, at some points, engage in PvP, or you will not progress.
Yeah. Though I guess with regards to endgame, I guess what we're doing with the faction ends, the drill and the oil pump, for example, we lay a foundation for future stuff.
That's true, and I guess in general those in-match activities, or IMAs as we call them, I mean, they're definitely about telegraphing player activity. So they're they are designed to bring players together.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, but I think I misunderstood the concept of the campaigns. So they're separate from the contracts. Are they like their own story for each single faction?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
So the looping contracts or jobs as they're called now is something you unlock after a couple of faction levels. But the kind of base spine now is the campaigns, and there's one campaign per faction with its own narrative.
And do I have to, for example, you're talking about these things at the end of the campaigns. Do I have to choose like a campaign to side with and I can get their bonus, or is that for every campaign I can unlock them?
For every campaign.
Yeah, we're not going to force you to choose.
Okay.
At least not yet.
At least not yet.
When it comes to leveling up the factions, you have to, increase your, you have to increase the thing by doing the contracts. I forget what it was called, but by doing the contracts, is that all through campaign now as well? And then what is that like kind of cap at for each faction? How high do we have to go?
So I mean, the faction progression is pretty much as it was before. So you still get faction XP from the jobs. You still get faction XP for selling items to them, but you also now get faction XP for doing the campaign missions.
Really? Okay.
And but the faction progression is as it was before. You level up, you work for them, you get XP, you level up, and you get to buy more, better stuff.
Understood. That's really cool, and I'm looking forward to just having that straightforward quest line is really cool because it's fun to go back and do them. And those will probably stay consistent, I'm assuming, between like wipes. Those maybe won't be changed entirely.
I mean, let's see. I mean, you're gonna be replaying them
Yeah.
to an extent, but I mean, we do want to make sure that there's a little bit of a twist to how you experience them each time. Like we look a lot at Path of Exile and their strategy there, where players are really excited to go back because they get to experience things from a new light and there's new additions and stuff like that. So we want to take a page out of their book.
Understood. Last thing I want to touch on is topic of cheating in a game like this, because again, free to play, big topic. You talked a lot about working with additional security checks and then working with anti-cheat as well to help you guys combat that. What do you guys have in store, I guess, without giving away too much, if anything, for next one?
Oh yeah, I mean, our tech director would be able to give a more detailed answer. I know we have done stuff and have added additional layers of security because we already saw it in CB1.
We had EAC. I think we now have Battle Eye as well.
On top, exactly.
On top of EAC.
Really, you both?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess...
But I don't think that's everything.
I'm sure there's stuff that I wouldn't understand if you told it to me, so... I was just curious if there was stuff being done towards that. And then, is there like a report system for people cheating as well? Is that going to be something that we can get people blatantly cheating banned fast?
Yes. And that's also the really good thing about the battle log in end of match, because previously there wasn't really any way to know who you interacted with, but now you literally have a UI element that says you were killed by player X. You took this much damage, and through that UI you can report players, or add them as friends if you had a good experience.
That is all really good to look forward to. And someone wants to know, are there going to be kill cams in this game, like at some point, maybe done somehow?
Are they going to be
like kill cams? So like replays where you can see how you died.
Yeah, like TF2 and Overwatch.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not sure if it fits this game, to be honest. I know it does help with the cheating topic.
Yeah.
That would be like the main reason to do it.
Yeah.
I guess I mean, hopefully cheating, like we managed to make things robust enough that cheating isn't a huge problem.
Yeah.
But it might be something like if it is, we might have to reconsider it.
It might be a bridge too far with solos or squads.
That's what I'm thinking too. It feels a bit iffy, but yeah.
I like the idea of the key cards in the game, all the keys. Are we going to see maybe new key rooms, like more valuable things? Okay. Anything more about that?
I've added a new key room to the center base in Crescent Vault, or Bright Sands.
Mm-hmm.
And we fixed the one in Green's Prospect.
And I think it's also worth mentioning that keys now have durability.
Yes.
So
that's a very big point, yeah.
So how does that durability work? Is it percentage based? Does it have number of swipes? How does that work?
I think it's number based.
I think it's just numbers based.
Last I saw it was number based.
Yeah.
Okay. And do rare keys have less charges, or is it kind of the same through all of them?
Don't know.
I don't know, actually.
I don't know. That's a very good question.
I think it's the same for all of them. I guess the rarity is more about where they lead, but yeah.
Understood.
But the hope is that it actually makes keys a little bit more desirable because
that all makes sense. I think that's pretty much it. Extracts have stayed the same. Do we still have like 2 extracts and they're unique per team, so you can't like really count them too much?
Yep.
I can't really think of anything else. Is there anything you guys are excited about that we didn't touch on?
Can't think of anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've gone over most of it.
Yeah.
It really is, I mean, a packed beta.
Yeah. We got a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
And again, anyone that wants to sign up for the next beta test, it'll be on March 10th through the 18th, right? It's the 18th or the 28th, the beta?
10th through the 28th, I think.
10th to 28th. Yeah.
The 28th, okay. So we got another... That's a long beta. Is there a chance we might get extended if it does really well like the last time, or you think it's going to be locked on that date?
We'll have to see.
Too early to say.
Too early to say? Okay.
That's the plan right now.
Fair enough. Apart from all of that, you had an announcement you wanted to make at around 6 p.m., and it's around 6 p.m. your time, if you want to go ahead and do that.
Yes. There is something I want to talk about, because we've been doing these player council tests where we have kind of our core community that gets to play playtest with us over some weekends. The last one was in December. And it's been really an integral part of us just getting early feedback and making sure that we're on track, and that we really check our work against what our most invested players want. The next one is about to start right now, and what's cool about this one is that partners are actually allowed to stream it on Twitch.
Really?
So it's going to be a super cool weekend. So if you are in the player council, you're free to hop in. I hope the servers are up. And if you're a partner, you're even free to stream. There is some stuff that we don't allow to be streamed. And that's for two reasons. One is to be a little bit secretive of just cool stuff and keeping some stuff for later. But there's also some stuff that it's just very in development. And we're basically still getting feedback on it to make sure it's in a good place to show in public.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So you'll all be able to get a little bit of a sneak preview and glimpse into what we've been working on in actual action.
That is exciting. I'm going to launch that up probably after this interview, play for a little bit, and we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, thank you guys so much for your time. Daze, was a pleasure. Tesuji, thank you as well. Thank you for the insight onto the game itself and the next beta test. I'm looking forward to it. I guess while we're talking about beta access real quick, is there going to be a lot more keys given out? I know those were kind of a little hard to get last time.
I don't know.
You don't know? You don't know? All right. Hopefully everyone will get in. If you don't, join the Cycle Discord and, beg the mods for keys. They love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's you will be able to get to get access. So do apply. And I mean, since we had so many players already playing in the first beta and they have access already, like it's a pretty big test. Let's put it that way.
Just wanted to make sure. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you around soon.